Hi, this is Gavin from FE News, and I've got a great pleasure to be chatting with Chris Jones from Ofsted, and we're going to be running a little mini-series on the 3 I's.
Hi, thanks, Gavin. Chris Jones from Ofsted, Specialist Advisor for Further Education and Skills. I want to talk to you about the quality of education, and within that, the 3 I's: intent, implementation, and impact.
Today, can we look at intent, which is the underpinning really for everything, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you look at the handbook, you actually see the word intent scattered throughout the whole thing. Sort of it's about, what is it for? Can we pause it? Because what I've forgotten to do is to start the meeting in this.
Hi, this is Gavin from FE News, and I've got a great pleasure to be chatting with Chris Jones from Ofsted, and we're going to be running a little mini series on the 3 I's. And I thought I'd start this series off with where it's all sort of underpinning really with intent, but I'm going to just ask Chris to introduce himself.
Hi, thanks, Gavin. Chris Jones, HMI, Specialist Advisor for Further Education and Skills. And as you say, I'm going to talk about the 3 I's, and this week start with intent.
And basically intent is where the underpinning and where it's all sort of starting from really for everything around the sort of the basis of what we should be doing. So if we could start with intent and your sort of thoughts around that and best practice that people should be thinking of, that'd be fantastic, Chris.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, intent sits within the quality of education. And if you have a look at the FE handbook, you'll see that the word intent is scattered throughout. It sort of weaves its way into leadership and management. It's there within curriculum planning. And, you'll see it is part of the base of the framework in a sense, that's that sort of foundation of it. It's really important in that intent, it's layered in a sense, because an organisation as a whole may well have an organisational intent for what it wants to do. So a college will have an organisational intent that's then broken down into the range of departments and faculties and subjects that are then taught. Because they'll say, okay, the main intent might be to deliver a fabulous learning experience for young people and adults in the area, to help them to get jobs and to make progress into further and higher education. So you can it almost gets back to the old style mission, vision, and values that organisations had in the early 2000s. So it's those kind of things that sort of says the intent then for the organisation as a whole becomes a really important pivot on which everything else swings. So you then would say, okay, we've got this aim for the organisation, and that becomes fairly straightforward for organisations that are specialist and say we're dealing with engineering apprenticeships only. Then the organisational intent will be to service the engineering industry by providing training and so on. But then even there are still layers down in terms of, well, why have you chosen to deliver the set of programs that you have chosen to deliver? So you're going to have main organisation intent, the sort of the holistic view about what the organisation exists for in terms of its education and training facility, and then having a look at departmental intentions, and that may then be broken down into, well, yes, this is the health and social care area of the business, but we're running 3 or 4 different programs, and each of those programs will have an intention about what that program is there to deliver. What might students, learners, apprentices get out of following that program? So it's that kind of clarity right throughout the organisation that needs to be there. So that if I go in as a lead inspector and I'm talking to the principal of a college or the CEO of an independent learning provider or the apprenticeships manager of an employer provider, then what I want to get into is, first of all, why are you in the business? What is it that you really want to do? What's the overall aim for everything that you're doing? And then dig down into, if I've chosen for the deep dive areas, health and social care, sports, leisure and recreation, and preparation for life and work, then I'm going to say, okay, right, we're looking at these. What's the aim of those programs? So what's the key here? It might be for health and social care. Well, what are the employment opportunities that you are hoping to provide for the young people and adults following the range of programs in health and social care? Where's the local need for that? Can you demonstrate that? So you're thinking about intent, and that's informed by the potential destinations that those young people or adults will go to as a result of those learning experiences. Now, at a curriculum, go on.
Yeah, I was going to ask really, is there any examples of best practice that you've seen in intent, which has been a really easy way for you to be able to see, okay, this is where people are coming from with intent? Because at the end of the day, people want to be able to make life easier for you to understand what their intent is, isn't it? And what sort of good examples have you seen around people sort of demonstrate that?
Well, there's real clarity, I think, in terms of, where a provider is absolutely clear about sort of saying, okay, in this area, there is a key shortage in a particular, we have let's say there's a skills gap in this area in hospitality and catering. We're not getting, our local businesses aren't getting people applying to do higher level hospitality and catering jobs. And, therefore what we focused on as an organisation is the marketing, the planning, the support to work with local employers, identify what it is that they actually need, and then to develop the suite of programs, the marketing, the support mechanisms in order to be able to develop the programs to meet those employment needs. It's probably more straightforward for apprenticeship providers who have specific links with levy-paying employers. But even then, because you'll say, well, we're delivering these levy apprenticeships because there is a specific need from those employers, and that's what the contract would define. But in some senses, we might well want to say, well, okay, how does that definition by the employer of a skills gap or a need for apprentices, how does that fit with the employer's workforce strategy? So that, because it could be too easy for an employer to sort of say, oh, I've got this levy money to spend. I'll do some level 4, level 5 management apprenticeships, because that's a quick win. I can do that. But it might not be meeting the workforce development needs overall for that business. And in a sense, the conversation will be about, well, how are you as a provider ensuring that the whole contract, the whole rationale for what you're delivering in terms of the apprenticeships is actually meeting that need? Because that helps then you then to define the intent for what it is that you're doing, and obviously then leads into appropriate curriculum planning. Because if you have the clarity of intent about why you are doing what you are doing, then that should help you to begin to think about the curriculum. And there is a curriculum intention as well that even gets down to groups of teachers within a subject area deciding which awarding organisation to go with, because they may well have reviewed a whole set of linear A-level exams and had a look at the syllabuses that are produced by the awarding organisations, and as a group has decided, well, okay, from our perspective, if we're doing history A-level, this is the one for us. This is the one that we like. This is it's got the sort of the methodologies and thought processes that ally themselves with what we're thinking about as a curriculum team. So even at the choice of awarding organisation does inform your curriculum intent as well, because it might be about the assessment methodologies that you prefer. And in the same way, the apprenticeships, you might well be looking at a range of EPAOs, the endpoint assessment organisations, and looking at the endpoint assessments and saying, actually, I'd be much happier on my apprentices knowing what they like. They'd be much happier with this kind of endpoint assessment than the other one. And that therefore informs your intention.
That's fantastic. So really the intention is the underpinning of what we're sort of talking about really here. But I hadn't really thought of it before around it also looking at awarding organisations as well.
Yeah. It's sort of, if you're thinking about a curriculum and what you're going to teach, then in a sense you've got to think about the whole linear thing, haven't you? About why am I teaching what I'm teaching? What things do I need to think about in terms of the outcomes and what I want to achieve, my learners to achieve as a result of doing that? And therefore, it's not just a question of, well, I'm going to deliver, or we are going to deliver this suite of programs. You then have to think, your heads of department or apprenticeship managers might well then think, well, actually, we need to drill down a bit further into that as subject experts, as vocational experts in choosing the program or pathway that is best suited to our learners.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Why not click subscribe so you can be informed when the latest next individual podcasts or podcast mini-series from FE News are going to be released.